Hey everybody, hope you're all having a good day. On Monday we talked about cover letters. Today we're going to be moving into resumes. We actually started talking a little bit about resumes last week. It was basically just an introduction into resumes and what types of things are on resumes and what a resume is. Today we're going to dive into it a little bit deeper, and you guys will actually start working on your own resume. So you each should have a copy of a PowerPoint presentation. If you guys want to follow along and flip through that with me. So we're going to start out on page number 3. So what is a resume? Resume is a brief summary of your personal, educational, and professional qualifications and experiences. It's your personal fact sheet. It's your advertisement to the employer, trying to sell yourself to the employer. And a lot of times it's the only document that you will leave with the prospective employer. It is the main tool that they use to compare you with others. So you want your resume to be really good, so you look better than the other applicants. For that reason, you want to give great attention to making your resume the best you can. So you want to spend a lot of time and put a lot of effort into to crafting a good resume. All right, next page. So you want to start thinking about some skills that you possess. What are some things that you do well? So start thinking about skills that and things that you're good at. Things that you could put on a resume. Next page, constructing a resume, the heading section of a resume. So the heading is going to include your name, your address, your phone number, and your email address. And if you remember to what we talked about last week, your email address, it needs to be a professional sounding email address, one that you use only for job seeking purposes. Needs to be something appropriate, not something like trapboy765 at hotmail.com or something like that. It needs to be something like your first initial, last name, something more professional sounding. All right, next page, your resume objective. So your resume needs to have an objective statement. Your objective statement is going to describe your purpose of the resume. You need to customize your objective statement for the position that you're applying for. It describes your skills that you bring to the prospective employer, and a lot of times this will entice a hiring manager to go ahead and continue reading your resume. Some examples of objective statements for resumes. So just to start it off, you could say something like, to obtain employment in the field of blank, whatever field it is that you're applying for. Another one would be to secure a position with blank where I can utilize my blank skills. You just fill in the blanks with appropriate words or phrases to finish out that objective statement. Another one, to obtain a position that will enable me to enhance my skills and knowledge in a particular field. The next one says, to obtain a position that allows me to blank. And then I am seeking employment blank. So objectives and goals. You don't want to talk about yourself and your career goals in your objective statement. You can do that in the interview. And they'll probably ask you that question in the interview. You want to avoid such phrases as seeking a chance for advancement, or where my skills can be utilized, or where I can further my career. Those phrases, they don't belong in your objective statement. Your goal is to focus on the employer and his or her needs. So that list of objective statements that we just went over, those are good starts. So go with something like that. All right, the education section of your resume. That's going to include the schools that you have attended, the dates you attended the schools, the addresses of the schools, and whether or not you're presently enrolled there, or if you were previously enrolled there. And you want to make sure you've listed all schools that you previously attended. Next page, your employment record. So you'd want to list all jobs that you had. You'd want to list the duties that you performed at that job, the addresses of the employers, and the dates of employment. So this is one of those sections where it's good to have all that information already researched and written down. So that way when you're actually constructing your resume, you'll have it right there and you could just type it in. You won't have to go back and do any research while you're trying to do the resume. You want to make sure you include all skills and accomplishments that directly relate to your objective. Don't forget to include volunteer works, because that counts too. Right. So if you've never had a job, you've never been employed, what do you put in that section? Well, you can focus on what you have done or what you can do. So if you've babysat your siblings, if you've mowed the yard for your grandma, all that, mowing lawns and doing yard work or babysitting, that's work. So you can include that in your work history. So so if you do put something down like that, if you have mowed your grandma's yard, you don't want to put mowed grandma's yard. You would put performed lawn care service for. You'd put her name. You wouldn't just put grandma. So put her name and her phone number so they can call and verify that. Next page. So activities section. So this would include clubs, organizations, extracurricular activities, any sports you might be participating in, and any awards or recognition that you've received. So you would include any and all skills or accomplishments that directly relate to your objective. Everything needs to tie back to your objective statement. So your job experiences they can help build your resume. So don't forget to include volunteer work, like I said earlier, because volunteering that counts too. Next slide. Awards and special recognition. So any type of award that you've received, it'd be good to put down. So any type of sporting event, sporting awards, class recognitions, attendance awards, or AB honor roll, that would all be something you could put down in that section. Right. Summary of skills. So your resume should highlight your most marketable skills in such a way that employers are more likely to call you. So make sure that all skills that you list pertain to the job that you're applying for. So you guys can go ahead and start brainstorming ideas of types of skills that you possess. Right. So say, if you have good organization skills, you could say possess good organizational skills. If you're good in a particular subject, say you're good in math, you could say I possess strong mathematical skills. If you enjoy talking, possess exceptional interpersonal skills. And if you know lots of people, if you have lots of friends, you could say ability to work well with others. So you want to make sure you highlight your most marketable skills in such a way that employers are more likely to call you. So, what do you enjoy doing? What skills do you most enjoy doing or using on the job or in school? What skills would you use even if you weren't paid? So think about all the skills that you possess and how they might pertain to the particular job that you're applying for, and how you could word those skills in a way that would entice the employer to give you a call. All right, next slide. If you speak more than one language, you could put down, and this would be in the skills section, you could put down I'm fluent in both English and Spanish, or whatever other language that might be. So references. So a reference is an individual to whom one refers to for testimony as to character, skills, or abilities. So you want to make sure that anybody that you're using as a reference, you want to make sure they know that prior to you putting them down. So you want to make sure you ask them. You would use their full name. How are they related to you, or how do you know them? Who do they work for? What do they do? Their contact info, address, phone number, email. Most companies ask you to provide references, so you need the names, phone numbers of a person who could tell them more about you. So it's good to go ahead and start thinking about a list of 3 to 4 references that you could use. Most of the time they're going to want it to be someone who is not a relative of yours, so it would need to be a teacher, a coach, someone you've previously worked for, someone like that. All right, next slide. All right, when you're putting in dates, so dates that you attended the schools or dates that you worked at a previous employer, you need to try your best to be very specific on those dates. So if you're just saying something like the summer of 2012, that's really not a good date. You need to try to be more specific than that. So better than that would be May of 2012, so the actual month, but the best would be the full date, so May 3rd, 2012. Try to be specific as possible on the dates. So there's 2 types of resumes. First one we're going to talk about is a chronological resume. So this is the most common type of resume. It lists and highlights your work experience, education, and personal information. So this is the one that most people are familiar with. This one is more for someone who has lots of experience, lots of previous work experience. So this one is probably not the one that you guys are going to be more concerned with right now. You guys are going to be more concerned with the one on the next page, which is a functional resume. So this one allows you to focus on your skills when you don't have a lot of previous work experience to highlight. So this type of resume format works well for people with limited work experience and someone who has been out of the workforce for a while, or they're seeking to change their career at some point. This one focuses more on your skills rather than your employment history. This one is a good format for a high school student who is looking for the first job. So you can list your involvement in extracurricular activities, volunteering activities, and accomplishments in high school. So this one would be more suitable for your guys' needs and experience level. So functional resume, remember that. All right, some resume tips. You want to make it brief and concise, so short and to the point. Make it easy to read. Make it visually appealing. You want to make sure you use white paper only and do not use scented papers. I'm not sure what scented papers are. Didn't know there was such a thing. All right, so 1 page is preferable, but no more than 2 pages. You want to highlight your key points. Use the same alignment throughout the resume. More tips. You want to make sure you proofread your resume. Look for spelling and grammatical errors. Use action words to highlight your accomplishments and achievements. And show yourself off. So remember, this is your advertisement, your chance to show yourself off to the employer and let them know why you would be a good fit for them. Some good action words to use on your resume. You always want to use action words when describing your experience or your skills. So awarded, presented, voted, achieved, excelled, accomplished, elected. Those are all good action words that can help you distinguish yourself from other applicants. right. So that was the end of the PowerPoint presentation. You guys should have received 3 handouts. One of them says resume pre-writing activity at the top. The next one says resume basics. And then the last one is a sample resume. So let's take a look at that sample resume that you've been given. This is John Student, his resume. So if you check out the top right there, he's got his contact info. That's his heading. Next, he's got his objective statement. He says he is seeking an entry-level position as a sales associate with a clothing company. So he is right there in that objective statement. He is giving the purpose of this resume, telling what he's doing with this resume. Then he's got his education. So he is currently in high school. So this was said he was expected to graduate in June of 2016. Then his experience. He's worked as a sales associate. So he lists his job title. He lists the name of the company. And then over to the side of that, he's got the dates that he worked there. And then underneath that, he's got his responsibilities for that particular job. All right, so sales associate at Amazing Clothes R Us in San Diego, California. Then he's got the date that he worked there. Then underneath that, list his skills. So restocked inventory, helped customers. Then he's got his next job listed under that, Pet Play Pal. So he worked for the Humane Society from June 2014 to October 2014, and then he lists his job responsibilities underneath that. So real simple. Then underneath his experience, he's got his accomplishments. So this is where you guys could put if you were on AB honor roll, if you've earned your ServSafe certificate, any kind of accomplishment that you feel would set you apart from other applicants would be good to list here in this section. Then at the bottom, he's got 3 references. So this is just a basic, real simple basic resume guide that you guys can use whenever filling out your own. So for the next 2 days, I would like for you guys to, hang on, let me find my spot. So start working on the resume pre-writing activity worksheet and the, hang on, resume basics worksheet. And then for tomorrow, I want you guys to start drafting your own resume. So like you did in the cover letter, whatever job you picked to write your cover letter for, go ahead and start making out a rough draft of a resume for that job. Again, like I said, with the cover letter, it needs to be appropriate. Make sure you include all the important parts of a resume. If you don't know the information, just kind of make up a generic thing. Like, I don't want you guys to list your real address and real phone number, like anything like that. Or if you've just make up a generic address, a generic phone number, and the same thing in the education and the work history part. If you don't know the addresses or anything like that, just make up a generic contact info for those also. But like I said, so work on the 2 worksheets and start working on your a rough draft of your own resume. And I will talk to you guys again on Friday. All right, guys. Have a good day.